Since it's kind of early, if you're feeling a little tired or distracted, just focus for a few seconds right now. So if anyone asks you, what did the priest talk about? You can say, focus. He told us to focus on Jesus. And if they ask you, well, did he say anything else? You can say, yes, he said the loss of God is the worst suffering any of us could experience, and we've gotten too comfortable with this. And it's time to encounter the living God again. So if you're feeling distracted and are about to check out to whatever else I'm about to say, go ahead. You can tune back in a few minutes. I'm on a mission, and more importantly, the Lord is on a mission. It's no secret that many present at this Mass today are our guests. This is an opportunity and an opportune moment to say welcome. But not just for us to welcome you, our guests, but for all of us to welcome the divine guest who stands at the door of our hearts and longs to find a place of welcome there. Have you heard him? He is on a mission, seeking a place of rest. He's on a mission to find a place of welcome in our hearts. Focus now on his presence. He is here in our midst. And I'm on a mission to proclaim this message. The Lord is in our midst. He is here. And behold, he stands at the door of our hearts and knocks. Focus now on this experience of his knocking on the door of our hearts. Where have we heard this knocking? Distant echoes of this knocking are all around us. Students are on vacation. Public places are peppered with decorations. There are particular movies on our screens and special episodes in our favorite series. There's a desire or a feeling that we should go to church. There are sales at stores and online. You have to wait 40 minutes to make it through 1st or 2nd Avenue because you forgot about the Christmas tree circle traffic. But why? What do all these things tell us? Behold, our divine guest stands at the door of our hearts and he's knocking. None of this would take place if it weren't for one event that took place thousands of years ago. At that event, what happened in the fullness of time is that the God-man was born of the Virgin Mary. Focus on that. God became one of us, fully God and fully man, Jesus. There are so many things that distract us from this central reason for this season, and we are far too easily distracted. That's why I'm on a mission to call us back, to focus on that one who knocks at the door of our hearts. Will we let him in? This is part of what I'd like to say. Focus on the presence of Jesus. The second part has to do with the worst suffering we could ever experience. It's not caused by the words and behavior of politicians. It's not caused by wars or even dentists. The worst suffering isn't caused by any of these things. The worst suffering in the world is caused when we, as a nation and as an individual, lose God. The worst suffering is caused when we lose our relationship with God. And do you know how we lose this relationship with God? Sin. When we choose sin instead of God, we lose God. Some sins are little, and we lose him a little bit. Other sins are big, and we lose him completely. And there's nothing humanity, left to its own cleverness, can do about it. No politician, no university professor, no tyrant can conquer this terrible enemy of humanity. No, we have to turn to the Word become flesh, to Jesus. We have to focus on him again to find the answer and victory over this loss of God. The very name Jesus means Savior. Jesus is our Savior, and what he saves us from is this terrible enemy of humanity, sin and the wrath of sin, which is death. He saves us. Too many of us are too comfortable with this enemy. We've grown too comfortable with our sin. We don't even realize how it's destroying our peace. And as it destroys our peace, we might choose to distract ourselves from the suffering we're going through to get our minds off of the discomfort. That's why we've got to focus on Jesus, our Savior, whose birth into our world we celebrate in this Mass. In this Mass for the celebration of Christmas, we focus on the truth that Jesus, our Savior, was born. that for love of us, he became one of us. And this isn't some reality far from us, but it is very near and in our midst. If during this homily these words have seemed too distant for you or too theoretical, focus on this truth. As you look at Jesus in the Eucharist during this Mass, during the consecration, I'm going to stand there and I'm going to hold Jesus in the Eucharist so we can all look at him. As the Word becomes flesh in our midst, in the miracle of this Eucharist, when bread and wine cease to be bread and wine and become truly the body and blood, soul and divinity of Jesus, our Savior, at that moment, look at him and know that he looks back at you. And he may be saying something like this: "Behold, I stand at the door of your heart. Will you open this door just a crack to welcome me as I was welcomed into that poor manger bed 2,000 years ago? Will you open your heart to me? Do not be afraid. I have lowered myself for your sake. I have become poor for you so that you can become rich, not with money, not with fame or power, but rich in my love and grace. Come, follow me. Be not lost to me. I will never abandon or forsake you. I long for you to know my mercy and my peace. Come, follow me. I am your salvation."